I told you I can't stand it when you holler in the morning?
I'm sorry, darling. I just didn't want you to be late.
Hey, how you doing, little housewife?
Louise.
Yeah, I still have to ask Daryl if I can go.
You mean you haven't asked him yet? Thelma, is he your husband or your father?
Thelma and Louise are going fishing.
How come Daryl let you go?
Because I didn't ask him.
He's gonna kill you!
I left him a note.
Thelma and Louise are going to catch hell.
I'll have a wild turkey straight up and a Coke back, please.
Thelma!
Oh, what? Tell me something. Is this my vacation or isn't it? Did you see his butt?
Thelma, have you lost your mind?
I'm investigator Hal Slocum, Arkansas State Police.
You get your butt back here, Thelma, now.
As you know, we've tapped your phone.
What?
Maybe you got a few too many parking tickets?
Thelma, what happened?
You're getting in deeper every moment you're gone.
You want to step back and get in your car again, please?
I swear, 3 days ago, neither one of us would have ever pulled a stunt like this, but if you was ever to meet my husband, you'd understand why.
What?
Boys, shoot the radio. The police radio, Louise.
Got it.
Thelma and Louise.
How do you like the vacation so far? We'll be drinking margaritas by the sea, Mamacita.
Hello.
Hello.
I can't wait to talk about this movie.
Yes,
I
indeed.
love this movie.
It's a great movie.
We've come very close to doing this movie
Several times.
but we've really landed on the perfect
Yeah,
moment.
it's a great picture. Welcome back to the show,
Welcome
everybody. My name's Pete.
And I'm Scott.
And these are the movies that made us gay.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Oh, boy,
We have so much
Scott.
to talk about.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. Let's just jump right in, man. Let's get into it.
Yeah, we had our friend and prior guest of the show. We have him in person this time, Joshua Clement.
Hi,
Welcome
guys.
to the show.
It's really great to be here in person.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I feel like I want a wild turkey and a Coke back right now.
Make it a Diet Coke. I'll take it.
I mean, I'm drinking a Coors right here. I don't think that I have any Jose in the fridge. I
No.
should have got some for this recording, but I'll settle for my beer.
Very good. Very nice. Josh, frequent collaborator for our
Yeah.
Oscar episodes, our special Oscar
Good to have you in
correspondence.
person.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yes, a hot night in L.A., but not
Indeed,
too bad.
yeah.
And for some reason, we're back doing Harvey Keitel again after Sister Act.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sister Act. Well, anyways, we watched
Interesting
Thelma.
career.
We watched Thelma and Louise, directed
Yes.
by Ridley Scott, written by Callie Corey, released May 24th, 1991, 30 years ago this summer.
Wow.
This is kind of why I wanted to do this movie this summer. It's a big anniversary for it, and it is the time
Yeah.
to do this
For
movie
sure,
on this
for
show.
sure. This movie is a classic, obviously. It deserves like all the respect and everything. Crazy story, like how this movie got made. Crazy
Yeah.
story, like how it even made it to theaters. That trailer, just right off the bat, they made this movie sound way more zany than it actually
it's a buddy comedy.
Well, Ridley Scott talked about that. Josh and I just listened to the book Off the Cliff about the making of this movie. Listeners, if you want to just listen to something super entertaining or read the book Off the Cliff about the making of this movie. I can't remember the author of the book off the top of my head. But anyways, Ridley Scott talks about that, of just like how he really wanted to hook the audience in with thinking that this is a buddy road movie.
So that was on purpose.
Yes.
then. That was not.
I think it was. It was
Okay.
It was kind of to get asses in the seats.
That's so interesting. I would have thought that it would be like maybe studio cold feet or marketing companies just saying, I don't know if people are going to want to watch this movie.
Yeah, the book, by the way, is by Becky Aikman.
There we
But
go.
it is so funny to have that real buddy comedy trailer steering away from anything dark.
Yeah.
When really, in this movie, you get about 20 minutes of fun.
Yeah,
Sure. It's like the last 25 minutes.
Yeah. And it's not like, I mean, I was going to say it's not dark. There's dark moments of this movie, but it's not like super rough. It is, I mean, there's
comedy sprinkled.
Yeah, there's comedy sprinkled throughout. But it's a fun ride. But yeah, the trailer does make it out to be like a straight up comedy, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, let's get into this.
So you did not grow up on this movie. I think I watched this with you a few years ago, and you had never seen it.
My first viewing, yes. I think that I had definitely missed it. I mean, in 91, when it came out, I was pretty young still, so I was just like, I don't know.
Been like 13, 14.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, I want to see these two, like, ladies, like Robin
Seemed like
Banks
too much
or
of a grown-up movie.
Yeah, it did seem very grown-up. And I feel like Ridley Scott had this kind of, I don't know, like maybe mythology around him as a director. Like he does these like grown-up movies, right?
High concept sci-fi movies.
Not just that, but I mean, Black Rain had just come out, and I feel like that was very much like super grown-up, like somebody gets their head chopped off in that movie. Like, that's a crazy. Black Rain is nuts
with like a samurai sword, right? Yeah.
Because for me, this was I didn't actually get to it until college because I was young when it came out as well.
Yeah.
But Scott and I talked a little bit about this. It's kind of one of those adult movies where, as a kid, if it was on for my dad loved Susan Sarandon.
Sure.
So Bull Durham and this one, it was kind of one of those the kids leave the room time.
Yep.
And so I think that's why, for several reasons, I didn't get to it until probably college.
Yeah,
and then,
I have a very vivid memory of first watching this movie. I think that I had rented this movie because I was doing an expository speech in speech and drama when I was in high school on Ridley Scott and his filmography. Ridley Scott was kind of one of the first directors when I was young that I really latched onto. Just kind of, this is a great intro to just like auteur filmmaking. Like there's a Ridley Scott style. He does all of these really great movies. He does sci-fi, he does drama, he does action. Like he's done it all. And I did a talk on Ridley Scott, and I think that I would have had to have rented it for that. But I remember when we were in Prince of Wales Island, because I used to go to Alaska every year, and we would spend a few weeks there, and we would rent movies at the local liquor store. That they had like a movie wall.
Yeah.
That we would walk down to the liquor store, and we would get a movie. And I remember renting Thelma Louise and watching it with my mom and my sister, and just being profoundly affected by it. That I just thought it was so great.
Yeah, I remember being a little kid and being scarred by The Fly because I had, it was on TV and no one was around, and all of a sudden, Jeff Goldblum's fingernails are falling off.
Yes.
But I was like, who's that girl?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, later, obviously Thelma Louise, Susan, that, I think that's what motivated me to go back and explore, Geena stuff.
Yeah.
And for me, my introduction to Geena Davis was probably Beetlejuice, because Beetlejuice is one of those movies that I watched it when I was that young, that I don't remember first watching it.
Yeah.
That as long as I can remember, I remember watching Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Beetlejuice in the theater. I was pretty young, but I do remember that. And it was at the Dollar Theater. That's only a mile away from
the Academy.
apartment.
I love that.
Yes. Some of us didn't move very far away from home. But I saw Beetlejuice there, and then I also latched on to Earth Girls Are Easy very early on. So I had this. To me, Geena Davis was this like light comedic actress, but also my mother would watch the Oscars every year, and it was like a big thing. And she would even watch the Golden Globes before they were on network. They were on like
probably
TBS.
on like TNT or TBS.
They were on TBS or TNT.
Some Ted Turner network.
Yes.
She wanted the glamour.
Yeah, she even would watch those, so we were all about those. And if you remember, when Geena Davis was dating and married to Jeff Goldblum, Fly era, Geena Davis was one of those 80s '90s actresses that would dress real kooky
Yes.
on the
I love that.
red carpet, and I loved it.
Bring it back.
She was always like, "What is Geena Davis going to wear?" My mom always thought she was so beautiful. Then she won her Oscar for
The Accidental Tourist.
Wearing something pretty kooky.
Was it the like train?
Silver,
Yeah, long train, and then just kind of like very busty.
It's like her glamorous, busty Tin Man dress. Yeah.
But also kind of like saloon
gal. Yeah, sure.
But yeah, and so just knowing her from that, and I feel like she just always had a kind of a, I knew Susan Sarandon from things, but again, this was something that to me was a little bit more adult fare. I liked lighter fare as a kid, and I think that I just waited I just never got around to watching it until watching it, Scott, with you. But I mean, yeah, I do love Ridley Scott as a director. I'm all about I've seen pretty much everything he's done, and it's interesting. And of course, we're going to go into it. This movie's like crazy history, but I mean, even in 1991, this movie with like 2 female leads, like all this stuff that's going on. Is it a feminist movie? Is it man-hating? Is it a revenge movie? Is it this? Is it that? Doesn't matter. It's just a really good movie, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and so much of some of the stuff you hear Susan say is trying to lean out of the revenge tale.
Yeah.
And so that's all very interesting. And for Ridley, it feels so much smaller than some of the epics we're used to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's still a big, wide scope of a movie and all that, but I never really got revenge. I mean, I guess what they do, with Harlan is like, I guess it is an act of revenge, but it's like one thing that sets everything else in motion.
But it definitely doesn't go into a death wish genre.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess I can see the there's the angle where it's like all the men in this movie are portrayed one way, but really they're not. It's like, Thelma's husband is a jerk, but some husbands I'm sure are like that, and then Harlan, obviously. But, you get Michael Madsen, you get Harvey Keitel.
The Harvey Keitel is kind of the voice of reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, like one of
Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
Yeah, like one of his more sympathetic.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he's usually
roles.
such a heavy in everything. And in this one, he's really the one that's that kind of has their back the whole time.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, obviously this movie bestowed upon the world Brad Pitt's abs.
Yeah. I mean, Brad Pitt in that body. That teeny little frame.
Well, I was going to say, this movie is just it will go down in history as Brad Pitt, body, yaddy, yaddy. I'm telling you right now, when we watched this last night, I was like, he's too skinny.
Kind of has some chicken arms.
He needs
a little
to
bit.
Eat some food.
He's thin and all abs.
Yeah. All abs. The whole, just from his, all the way up to his chin.
It's funny, Scott said that he was living with Jason Priestley, I guess, at the time.
Yeah.
And,
Crazy.
Priestley says, we were eating, beer and ramen. I'm like,
how?
Not for this movie. I mean, how?
Yeah.
And he was doing some preparation.
Yeah, he is 2% body fat. This is some George of the Jungle. No, not even. I feel like Brendan Fraser at least had some more mass.
Although, is Brad Pitt one of those men that's just had that six-pack since he was 10?
Probably.
Could be.
Probably. But I mean, I don't know how tall Brad Pitt is.
I think he's about my height. I think he's about 5'9".
I think he's probably pushing $140 in this movie. Weight-wise, he's so thin. It's it looks unhealthy to me. And I know it's so much has gone into, and he's got a great body. Fight Club,
the roof scene in Once Upon a Time in
Hollywood. But at least in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he's finally, he's grown into himself as a 50 or 50-something.
He's looking a little weathered, and I kind of like this period of Brad's career that he can look a little old.
Yeah,
he's kind of a hot old guy now.
Kind of. But yeah, and the thing is, he's good in this.
Yeah,
it's it could just be quick, flash in the pan kind of character. Would it have been this successful with Billy Baldwin?
Sure. The chapter in that book
Christian
that goes
Slater.
into the casting of JD is crazy because every single actor that was in their 20s read for this role. Billy Baldwin cast and then dropped out to make Backdraft.
Yeah, hadn't signed on the line.
Hadn't signed any contracts. So they had to bring in everyone that made it to their last stage of casting. And I believe that George was one of them. George Clooney.
They said
Brad.
5 times.
Yep.
You had Dylan McDermott, Dermot Mulrooney.
Love it.
Ruffalo, Christian Slater. Mm-hmm. It goes on. And apparently Robert Downey Jr. said, I will do this for any amount of money.
Anything that you have in the budget, I'll do it.
And Ridley was like, no, you're too short for Geena.
I was going to say, like, on a phone book the entire time. 'Cause he's my height on a good day.
Grant Show from Melrose Place
was the backup, right?
Was the backup, and he had to do television commitments. And Grant has said it's one of the biggest regrets of his career is not doing this movie.
Oh.
So it's fascinating that this is a star-making vehicle for Brad, but yet, he's really third down.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's very interesting, though, because I feel like the age disparity in all those actors is pretty great. Like, I feel like Clooney, I don't know why, he just reads so much more older.
Ruffalo was on the younger end. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Christian Slater had to have been still in his very early 20s at the time.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
You know?
But it's also kind of funny that they talk about the input Geena had because,
they brought her in to read the scene where he's doing his monologue with the hairdryer.
Yeah.
And they said that they mentioned that Geena says that they were sort of talking amongst themselves with casting, and she was like, well, aren't you going to ask me of who I like? And she said, the blonde one.
Yeah.
Duh.
It was like brunettes and the blonde.
That's cool.
And he made her lose herself in the audition, giggling, forgetting lines.
So Jason Priestley also talks about in his memoir, which I have read that when he was living with Brad Pitt at the time, after filming, Geena Davis used to come over.
Ooh,
so it sort of turned into a friends with benefits situation, which I love. Good for Geena.
And this kind of all tracks because she says that her separation with Goldblum happened as the movie began filming.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
So,
Scandal.
Good for her.
Yeah, good for her.
She got the
Geena.
She got the tap that Brad ass.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I feel like I'm wondering, if somebody they originally cast Billy Baldwin.
Right.
And Backdraft, good movie. Billy Baldwin, handsome guy.
Very handsome.
Yeah, handsome guy. Would it have had this kind of lasting impact that, that Brad Pitt
I don't know.
had?
And kind of the funny thing that they both end up opening the same weekend.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, I feel like if you're Billy Baldwin, you take Backdraft. It's a lead role,
Yeah.
It's Ron Howard, you're working with all these people. I kind of would think he made the right decision at that time. I feel like these people were like, you want this lead role. You are the main character in this movie. You're third, fourth, third male lead in a female-centric movie. What does he have? 15 minutes of screen time in Thelma Louise?
Well, it's the
legacy that matters.
It makes an impact.
Yeah.
Well, if we're going to talk about alternate castings, we should probably mention to start that this script was circulating throughout Hollywood in the late 80s, and pretty much every major actress working at that time wanted this role, wanted these two roles.
Yeah.
And they had cast Michelle Pfeiffer and Jodie Foster.
It was
that was sort of what they were shopping with studios of. Michelle and Jodie really want to do it. They're both really hot right now. Jodie had just won for The Accused. Michelle, I think, had been going on her second nomination, and it's Michelle Pfeiffer, one of the most beautiful faces in movies. And they were very close to do it. They were very close to doing it, and as they were trying to find directors, they went over schedule, and they both had to leave to make other movies.
Yeah.
Jodie had to go make Silence of the Lambs, and Michelle went to go make Love Field, which the irony was they were both sort of considered for both of those roles. Michelle was originally cast as Jodie in Silence of the Lambs, and Jodie was originally cast as the Michelle Pfeiffer role in Love Field, and they flipped them.
Michelle was like, it's a little too gross for me.
Interesting. I'm not going to say that Jodie Foster couldn't play Thelma. But I mean, is it... And not that the character is too light, because, I mean, there's like a brutal abuse scene in it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I just feel like the ditziness, the kind of what Geena brings to Thelma is this kind of I hate to say like childlike, but like, I don't know, like just an innocence, right? And I feel like Jodie Foster is just so like hard for me.
I've never seen The Accused. Is sort of she play the like what's her character in the Accused? Because it seems like those two roles would be very similar.
When it comes to the assault scene, but in The Accused, it happens so early that it's mostly a trial movie.
Yeah,
sure.
About the case, and it's dark.
Very dark, very heavy.
But what's kind of fascinating about the Geena thing of it all is, these actresses are just waiting. It's not getting made. It's not getting made.
Yeah.
Geena supposedly wants to be Louise, but then talks to Ridley, and then feels she's more of a Thelma. But apparently, in the contract she signed, it was you will be either of these roles.
Yes, it depends on
how we
cast
Louise.
it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't find anybody for Louise, then we're going to throw you in there, and we'll bring in somebody else to be Thelma. Okay,
and we can't forget the Meryl and Goldie of
So
it.
Meryl and Goldie like track Ridley Scott down and pretty much force him to take a meeting with them. And they're really selling that we need to be in this movie. And that's also interesting because I think that Thelma is written very differently, that you would have to adjust the script to be Goldie.
Yeah.
I mean, are we just automatically assuming that it would be Goldie as Thelma, right?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Clearly.
It can't be.
Meryl giving more maternal.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, hey, if it had gone their way, then maybe we wouldn't ever have had Death Becomes Her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They got their chance to work together, and while Death Becomes Her was horrifically panned by critics at the time, it has again gone on to have this
beloved legacy.
Yeah, so.
Goldie had to hang around for like the Banger Sisters with Susan.
There you go.
Well, and I also think the ending, when they would discuss it with both Goldie and Meryl, that I think that they wanted to change the ending. And I know with Callie, that was a deal breaker with the script.
Yeah.
That it has to have them drive off the cliff.
Yeah.
And there was no compromising with it.
Yeah, Ridley really only was tinkering with, is she going to push Thelma out?
Right. Mm-hmm. That would be the one concession.
I don't know if they shot that ending just to have it in the can if they might need it.
Yeah.
But they were never going to use that ending. Though.
No, you can't.
It wouldn't work. How could she reach over, open the door, and Thelma's just like, what are you doing? Are there cigarettes in there? I can get it for you. No, that wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. There's no way that in that huge boat of a car, she wouldn't even be able to keep her foot on the gas whilst reaching over to get the door handle.
No way.
So they both got to go over the cliff. Very interesting though, because it is this iconic ending of this movie, and I am old enough to remember, and I talk about this on from time to time. I was a big patron of Entertainment Tonight and Extra and all the all the entertainment news magazine
all
shows,
the half-hour tabloid
yes,
shows
of the late 90s and the 80s. And all those shows, this movie was huge, very topical, and I don't think anybody cared about spoiling this ending. I think Roger Ebert talked about it.
Oh
on
yeah,
Siskel and Ebert.
Everyone pretty much led with they drive off the they drive into the Grand Canyon at the end.
Yes, and the white out, fade to white, all that stuff.
Which is so interesting given the state of today and social media and spoilers.
Yeah.
What wasn't considered.
Yeah, absolutely. I just always remember that being a talking point. Interesting that I brought something up. Roger Ebert's review. His only negative was that they cut to white too quickly for him.
To that
it was
montage.
like the edit. Yeah, he thought that it was like it would have. I don't know if maybe they left out the montage or held on the freeze frame for longer or something.
It's an interesting star deduction.
Yeah, it's a very interesting star deduction.
Well, if you look on the Blu-ray, you can see their alternate ending, which you see the car drop out of frame.
It's weird. When the car drops out of frame, I don't like it. Yeah.
No. It gets a little, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's not as inspiring as the freeze frame to the montage of all of the scenes.
Yeah.
Because it's like even in death, there's something triumphant about their journey by, having that liftoff.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's going to happen, and it's sad, yet there's something about getting away.
Yeah, totally. Because then there's the whole conversation that at least I had in my head of like, what if they just get out of the car? What if they just put their hands up? I mean, yeah, she shot that guy.
We're going to jail for a bit.
They're going to jail for a bit. Like, what is she? Maybe she'll get what, low end 6-7 years,
right? And take into consideration the assault.
She's white. You know, maybe low end 6-7 years. You know, it'll fly by.
Susan Sarandon's Louise wasn't going to stand for that, though.
That's the thing.
It's
It's
true.
like Louise is like, I'm not going to jail, not for him.
Yeah.
And that's another very interesting thing is that we never get Louise's like tragic
The backstory.
Texas.
We know that something happened
backstory.
in Texas.
But whatever it is triggers this, I'm not going to go to jail for Harlan.
Yeah,
like
right.
he's not going to put me, you know, in jail and yeah, whatever happened to her in Texas that made them go all the way from
It's a fascinating piece of the puzzle
Yeah.
because it is brought up several times, and yet you know we never get the specifics, which is effective in an interesting way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, it just kind of adds to like just the depth of these characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the casting was crucial, and now when you see these other actresses that are on the list, it's like, of course, you know, Goldie and Meryl would have been great. Of course, you know, Jodie and
maybe
Michelle
Meg
would have been
Ryan
great.
at this time in her career could have been Thelma,
Right.
but it
against
has
like Jean Triplehorn or something as Louise, who's like our C list.
Well, there's even that talk that Cher was in the mix,
Cher?
but wanted to, you know, focus on music.
Yeah. That was
I
right.
think that
was when her
I think that Cher
music
has
career.
like said that she really likes the script, and if they were to consider her, she would probably make room. But yeah, she was doing music at the time.
Yeah.
This would have been like Mermaids.
Maybe
Yeah.
if she lost the Oscar for Moonstruck,
Right.
you would have seen her lobby even
Still
harder
trying,
for
yeah,
this movie.
yeah.
Give me something juicy.
Yeah. But, you know, even with all those other actresses in consideration, I feel like it had to be Susan and Geena. Like, they're just
yeah.
like so
The chemistry is
perfect.
undeniable.
Yeah. And then another thing, too, when we're watching it, I'm thinking, how is there no notes to say, like, oh, make one of them blonde?
I know.
Two kind of redheads?
That's really
Very-
interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
That they let them, you know. I mean, just the fact that this movie got made at all, I guess, was pretty noteworthy. Just because it's like every time you hear Ridley Scott say, you know, two bitches in a car, it's like, oh my god.
Well, that's what he
are
said.
these
That
men saying this.
that's what he said that studio execs would say to him at the time.
Yeah.
That's just this is two bitches in a car.
Nobody's gonna want.
Nobody's going to want to see this movie.
I feel like there's just something seemed to be so huge riding on a first time screenwriter.
Yeah.
You know, not just that she was a woman, but
Yeah.
you know, just first time out.
So Kelly Corey, she had spent some time in Nashville, and the book mentions that she was best friends with Pam Tillis, country legend Pam Tillis, who I love. I love me some Pam Tillis. Like, that is like my age of country divas from the early 90s, and she wrote the character of Thelma. I almost said Thelma Harper, but Thelma Harper is from Mama's Family.
Yes.
But she wrote Thelma after Pam Tillis, which I think is so cool. It makes me really want to meet Pam Tillis.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Taking, you know, a relationship from back home
Yeah.
and
Yeah, interesting that this that she, you know, she's not kind of, you know, she doesn't have like a proven track record. This is her first.
She was
Her first
working
scripts.
in music videos at the time, which was a very misogynist industry to be a woman working at, that she would just run into a lot of assholes, and she kind of put it all in the script. Not really knowing if she was going to sell it or anything, but just that I'm just going to put all of my frustrations into Thelma Louise. And then she ended up like selling this for like $1 million.
Yeah.
So she said that she wanted to direct it, but one of the things with the Ridley Scott production company was, okay, we're going to buy your script, but you're really going to have to cave to a huge A-list director making it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And Ridley Scott was not like he was going to produce it, but not direct it. And then just sort of when he met with all of these guys that wanted to direct this movie, he kind of knew that they would fuck it up. So he just ended up doing it.
And the rumor is Michelle Pfeiffer was the one who kind of, said, you know what, you should just do it.
Sure.
But I do love that, it's just like, it becomes so precious to him that in the end it's like, just you do it.
Yeah. And very interesting that, that Callie Curry's just like, yeah, I wrote the script, I'm shopping around, people are interested in it. You know what, maybe I'll direct the movie. And she did say that it would have been very low budget, kind of documentary style, but
she said that when it was the movie in her mind, she pictured it with Frances McDormand and Holly Hunter.
Right. Who were roommates at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense. That tracks. Those two seem very very cool.
She wanted her back home kind of feel.
Yeah.
But there's just something about how Ridley Scott directs movies that you really get a sense of scope. That this whole world is existing around this intimate story between these two characters, of just how he frames his shots. Like there's something happening in every frame of this movie.
Yeah. And one of the fascinating things I like about Ridley and reading about how he is as a filmmaker is he's one of the rare filmmakers that not only handles his own camera, but I love that he does full coverage all the time. So basically that means that there are two cameras always set up. So most directors will do, single coverage, but Ridley always wants the actors to just kind of let fly and for there always to be cameras on them both at the same time, which I find fascinating, which in this one, especially in the car, I think lends itself to such great moments.
He also storyboards all of his own movies. We have kind of an interesting Ridley Scott story. So I remember I got a press screening for All the Money in the World a few years ago. And that movie, you were always reading about it, that they had to do those reshoots in November with Christopher Plummer when they decided to cut Kevin Spacey out of the movie. And I got a press screening, which was the first time an audience had seen the movie outside of the Hollywood Foreign Press. And we went to the Sony lot, and they had a reception before. And for press screenings, they never do that. Ever.
So at the Sony lot, the theater, it's on the lot, just in the middle of sound stages. But the theater has almost like a mock marquee in the front, so it almost looks like you're walking down the street and there's a movie theater. You're like, oh, cute. And they even have posters, so it's kind of set up like an old-timey theater, right? And so we go in, and actually if you watch the Goldbergs anytime they go to the movies on the Goldbergs, it's that, because it looks so much like a theater. They're just like, well, let's just fucking shoot it here, we don't have to go anywhere. So we go inside,
open bar,
we go into this reception area, and
Fancy.
It's a big just like a little hall kind of a thing, and there's a bar, and it's an open bar. And I think they were past hors d'oeuvres, and we're like, well, shit, because Scott would get press screenings a lot for his reviewing job, and they never had. They would have popcorn.
They would have a candy bowl of Jolly Ranchers if you're lucky,
loose Starburst, and
I was gonna say I was a guest with you one time for a Vera Farmiga movie.
Yeah, so you remember how it was,
and that was on the Sony lot.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So if we were lucky, we'd get popcorn and loose, Starburst. But this one had open bar, high top tables, all this stuff. I think there might have been past hors d'oeuvres. And we're just what? And when we would go to these, I would just go after work, whatever. So we weren't dressed or whatever. And
so we walk in, and Pete is just Ridley Scott is standing right there. And I'm just
I was he's behind you.
I'm bullshit. That is not Ridley Scott. I turn around and, that is fucking Ridley Scott. Just casually talking to people.
Yeah.
He's I've been through a bitch on this movie. Yeah. I need to hear the reaction.
And that's sort of what a big deal the screening was.
Yeah.
That they felt Sony felt we have to get Ridley Scott to introduce this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the public. And he did the introduction.
And I had my big thing of free popcorn and my giant free rum and coke.
And just Ridley Scott, also just sort of a man of few words when it comes to introducing movies like that he's just you've read about this movie, you know what we went through, enjoy it.
Wait for the commentary track. I will give a full disclosure.
He's not the man who likes the attention.
And I'm not somebody to get overly starstruck or impressed whenever I see famous people. I think it's only happened like once or twice when we've been out and I've seen like Charlize Theron. But yeah, like looking at Ridley Scott across the room.
That was crazy.
Just being like, holy shit.
Fuck. Yeah.
What a legend.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we should kind of give a description of this movie, what goes on, so that we can kind of break down a little bit more our characters.
Yeah, so we get introduced to Thelma Louise. Thelma is a housewife. I don't think that Thelma is employed. She's sort of a stay-at-home. She's not even a mother. Just a stay-at-home wife to this asshole, brilliantly played by
Christopher McDonald.
See our Grease 2 episode with Christopher.
And we love that Christopher McDonald was recommended for the role because he had dated Geena.
Yeah.
Love it.
They were engaged at one point. This is amazing.
And she
love
left
it.
him for Jeff Goldblum.
He was like, I'll still do your
Scandalo.
movie.
Yeah. But I love that.
I love it. And I love that Thelma's house is, it's messy.
Yeah.
There's always construction going on.
Yeah.
I like the little bit that there is cutouts of remodeling. That just sort of wallpaper
I had
her
never
kitchen.
noticed that, but in the kitchen she has magazine cutouts on one wall, and they're all kitchens. And one says like "My Dream Kitchen" and all that, and I had never noticed that. And it's just one little touch of just like, Thelma just like it's a nice house. It's not like a shack or anything. He drives a Ferrari. Was it a Ferrari?
It was a Porsche.
Was it a Porsche? No, I don't think it was a Porsche.
And did you catch the license plate?
Yeah. What did it? I forgot what it said.
The one.
The one. Yeah. And then number
what
one.
What a jerk.
Is he a car salesman or
Yes.
a carpet salesman?
I thought it was carpet.
See, I read in the IMDb trivia carpet.
Yeah.
But
I thought that she said it's funny that no one wants, like, people want to buy a car
on a Friday.
Huh.
I thought she said
That's right.
car, and then in the IMDb trivia it said carpet, and then I just assumed it was a car because he drives this like Rari or whatever it is.
She knows he must be fooling around or something. Not come
Oh,
home.
she knows. Yeah.
I take it that Thelma and Daryl have probably met in high school.
Yeah,
She says.
Yep.
Yeah, married at 18
Yeah.
and together since 14.
Yeah, since she was 14. Only man she's ever been with, and he just hates her.
Yeah. He's pretty awful.
Like,
She knows he's an asshole. Yeah.
He sucks.
Yeah, he sucks. He just treats her terribly. Like all she does, her entire life revolves around like making him lunch and making him dinner and doing everything for him. And everything he said, like the first thing he says to her is like, "Stop hollering at me. I hate it when you holler at me."
And he doesn't even care when she asks him, "What do you want for dinner?"
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. He's like, "I don't care. Like, make whatever." Like, it's so yeah. And it's like he's an asshole. Like he's a shitty character. But I mean, I'm sure that there are women out there who are married to guys like this. There are piece of shit dudes out there who are just awful.
Louise is a struggling waitress. Works hard for the money. I love her introduction scenes at the diner.
Yeah, smoking ruins your sex life.
Mm-hmm.
And then goes back and lights up a cigarette in the break room.
There's a weird fish motif, I must say. She's kissing the fish in the tank.
Right.
And then we later see in Thelma's house there's a fish lamp with fish with an aquarium fish in the bottom of the lamp. So there's some weird motif here.
Okay. That is very interesting.
I'm like, is this Ridley or the production designer just, fucking with us?
Just went a little crazy. I love the design in this diner that she works at. It's just like we've all been at diners like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like a Bob's Big Boy, just like that old, fashioned kind of.
You can just feel how hot
That
that
kitchen.
set probably was.
Yeah. Her Louise's apartment set, very clean,
Immaculate.
very very tidy, just not a lot
Sort
of
of-
not a lot of stuff. Gina's house is very busy.
You get a good sense of these two women with their homes.
Yeah.
And they're packing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and Louise drives this crazy car.
It's a Thunderbird, right?
I think it's a
66 Thunderbird, yeah.
Yeah.
And does and like herself, Thelma will put her feet up. She wants it. Put your feet down. Like she wants it kept clean, just like her house.
Yeah.
This
And
car,
it's this mint green color.
This car, I suppose, is like her child, just because Louise doesn't have any kids. I mean, she just has like Michael Madsen that she's probably on and off again, and this car
and
is
she's living
like,
in an apartment, so she
this
doesn't
car is
own
like
a home.
her pride and joy. This
Yeah.
is like her child.
Which is interesting, the choice for us not have to worry about kids at home.
Yes, yeah.
No one's going to be sad.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, what is Thelma's husband's name? Daryl.
Daryl.
Yeah. So Daryl leaves for work in the morning, and they have Thelma and Louise have a phone call where we get set up that they're going to go on this trip.
They're going to go use the cabin of her boss.
Yeah.
Because
boss.
he's getting a divorce and just wants all of his friends to use the cabin before he has to turn over the keys to the ex-wife.
Ah, got it. Okay, okay. And Thelma tries to ask Daryl, but he's not even listening. He's
Forget
just
about it.
out the door. Forget it. Yeah, and he wouldn't even have said yes, even if she did ask him.
Right. And she's excited. I mean, she's bringing everything on this trip because she never gets to go out.
I love Geena Davis walking down that driveway with all of those props.
No, Thelma, we don't need the lantern. The place has electricity.
Oh, okay. No, I want to take it anyway, just in case.
In case of what?
In case there's some escaped psycho killer on the loose who cuts the electricity off and has to come in and kill us.
Sure, Thelma. Well, then that lantern will come in real handy. Well, maybe we should just tow your car behind, too, in case it steals your spark plugs.
We'd have to. That big brother makes it down the driveway.
And Geena said in the book that the props department was like, what do you want? Like, you can pick one. What do you want? And she picked all of them.
The lantern.
Whatever can fit in this trunk.
Yeah. That huge trunk, by the way. I was like, what the hell, this car? We're not going to need a lantern. The cabin has electricity. She's like, I might go out.
Well, what if some insane psycho killer is on the loose and they need a lantern?
Yep. And like fishing rods and like multiple suitcases. She took like 4 suitcases.
And she's wearing that jean jacket with the
my
pearls.
God, pearls hanging off the jean jacket. She's wearing this white like skirt, like a white linen skirt with a denim yoke, which, I mean, ladies listening.
Wait till the Gen Zs like get a hold of that skirt.
She knew she wanted to go out. She knew she wasn't camping first, or at the cabin.
No, she was like, we're going to stop at some honky tonk on the way to this cabin. And Louise, might I add, is wearing like this mariachi kind of like jacket.
Oh yeah, her personal jacket.
Yeah, I was like, okay. I mean, it's very country and western, which the whole mariachi motif is that. But I was like, all right. This black jacket. Love it.
Yeah, Louise, don't act like you're not ready for this country western bar. Yeah. But first, I mean, do we have the world's most iconic or first ever selfie?
Yeah,
with that Polaroid.
Now with this, we've done Thelma and Louise. We have successfully done all of the sequels from Drag Race All Stars 2. We did Show Squirrels.
Yeah. What happened to Baby JJ?
Happened to Baby JJ, and now
Thelma and Louise.
What an accomplishment!
Yep.
We don't need money, Velma. We're zombies. Hold on, I got a great idea. Selfie!
But yeah, that selfie, iconic. It's on the
So
poster.
It's great.
And
On
I don't
VHS
even
box.
know if when they shot that scene, if they knew it would be all over the marketing of the movie. Probably not.
Yeah, and it's weird because when you see that photo, they actually have it from a couple different angles. Which,
Yes, yeah.
once again, I don't know if that's Ridley's full coverage or if they
Right.
knew that was gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or maybe sort of late in editing.
Yeah.
When they figured that out, they brought them back in to get them. I don't know. But just kind of one of those great moments in movies that you could tell that they probably didn't really put a lot of thought into it, and just sort of this great movie moment happened then, and they probably didn't approach the scene thinking that.
Yeah.
The Silver Bullet Saloon, which
I've definitely been in
Is Long Beach.
my
Which is in
fair
Long Beach.
share of Silver Bullet saloons in Montana.
Yeah. First of all, the Ridley Scott says in the commentary that they shot this at a location in Long Beach, California, which blew my damn mind.
And is still a country western bar. It has a different name, I guess.
Okay, all right, that's interesting.
But it's impressive. It hasn't been turned into something.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the same bar from True Blood.
Could
that
be.
was in Long Beach too.
I love how the bar is lit too. You can really tell Ridley Scott and his camera guy really know what they're doing when photographing a movie.
Ridley Scott, the king of smoke and fog.
Yep.
Yes.
And wet roads.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, you're right, because
And he's all about a backlight.
A lot of times in movies, they'll be in a bar or a club, and it's way too well lit. Like when you go to bars and clubs, it's not lit but it actually felt like
it feels
they
like a
took
bar.
a camera inside and they shot in there. Yeah, really, really good. This is where we get introduced to the evil Harlan.
Harlan Puckett.
Harlan Puckett.
What a name.
I also have to give a shout out to the waitress because I love the waitress.
Love her.
I love this actress.
We do, yeah.
I guess Ridley said he used her again. She's great.
I think that she had worked with Ridley before.
Yeah.
And they called her back for this
G.I.
movie.
Jane in this. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, yeah. He made G.I. Jane with her. That's it.
We love her.
Okay.
But I also love in this bar the bathroom. I love that when Louise goes in there, it's
I
just,
love all of those extras.
just swamped all over each other trying to get a look in the mirror.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's all they're doing is just like in the mirror.
Those extras just feel like my aunts. Like I know all of those women.
Yes. So Harlan is played by Timothy Carhart. Hunt for Red October, Beverly Hills Cop. I think that's where I remember him from. And the waitress, Lena, is Lucinda Jenny.
Great.
As we've said from... Oh, and she's also in Practical Magic.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay, I know who she is in
She's
Practical
a
Magic.
townsperson.
She's one of the bitchy townspeople.
Yeah.
That said that she just always really wanted to look inside of their house.
Yeah, inside the house. Yep. That's her.
See,
Yeah.
I knew exactly who she was.
Right?
But Thelma's ready to get turned up.
Oh, my
Yeah,
goodness.
I mean, it's like the girls' weekend. She's
Yeah.
ready for some fun.
When Louise decides to order a drink, she orders a tequila and a shot of
Jose.
Okay, just double, not a tequila, a margarita. A margarita and a shot of Jose. But it's like double tequila. It's like, all right, lady, slow your roll. Somebody's got to drive home.
Yeah, and then evil Harlan packs it on further.
Ooh, man, the amount of shots that Lena the waitress brings back. It's like, oh my goodness.
And I love the kind of the messy, not messy. I love that Ridley chose to do the country western dancing. Non-rehearsed, just kind of that real feel in the bar.
And Ridley says on the commentary that when they broke for lunch and they had all of these extras from Long Beach that just knew how to just dance. They just needed just people that could authentically dance and not have it be...
Line dancing is crazy because when you see it in a bar, you're just like, how do they know?
And he said that they just started line dancing just to have fun, and they decided to photograph it and put it in the movie.
But it doesn't come off like the prom and she's all that. You know what I mean? It doesn't come off like, how do this is choreographed? It's like, no, it's a thing. It's line dancing. And also at that time, with like Billy Ray Cyrus and like all of that, it was becoming this craze.
The big country wave of the early 90s.
Yeah, it was definitely a craze. So people knew what it was. It didn't seem like precious or weird or out of place for this kind of like realistic movie.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Louise she's got Harlan's number from the get, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
she's immediately onto him.
Yeah. It's like the slow motion no to the parking lot,
Yeah, seriously. And then even when like Thelma says like, "Come on, let's go dance." And Louise is like, "Okay." And she got the smile on her face, but the minute she like stands up, Thelma's like gone.
Mm-hmm. Right.
She's like out on the dance floor. She's like, "Well, all right, well, fuck me. I'll just sit down and finish off my drink."
And he, and you can tell that Harlan has, pressured girls before, and we come to find out from the waitress, our lovely friend there, that he is a regular. So
yeah, definitely. This scene's heavy. It's a heavy scene.
Yeah,
hard to watch.
I remember watching this scene when I was younger, and this was really the first time seeing something like this in a movie, and I knew it kind of hit me when watching it when I was like 15. Oh, this is a reality for a lot of women.
Right.
That I don't think I'd ever seen something like that in a movie. And I want to say around the time that I watched this movie, I think that I probably had watched like something like Boys Don't Cry too. That like these very like real scenes that are a reality to some women.
And having been told, as a young man, whether through our parents or through we had a life skills class when I was in high school.
Yeah.
But the concept of no means no, and Thelma what she's saying to him, you just cringe with every inch of your body.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is a reality that all women have to deal with on a daily basis, and just like going out to bars and just being out in social situations, and just it's interesting that as a man, like you said, sometimes we grow up in environments where we do hear those things like no means no and all that, but a lot of times boys and men are not taught that, and for that reason, my sisters just automatically walk to their car with their keys in between their knuckles.
Exactly.
And have like a shanking device on their keychains that's pink because it's for girls. But it's like, what is this? Oh, it's a shiv.
Oh, I've seen your sister's key ring. You can fuck a guy up with that.
Yeah, but it's pink. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, and there's like, the little keyring mace that the little holster is also pink, and it's like, what the fuck? Like it's so crazy to see that they do that. That we live in this world that these things even have to be produced, and that women have to buy them to feel safe. But the fact that they market them in this way, that it's like, it's cute. It's like, it's not cute. This is a device to hurt somebody that has every intention to hurt you, And like as men, we don't really have to. I mean, as gay men, there's one thing where we kind of have that, one eye over our shoulder. But women really, every day, when they're alone, have this burden to think about. And it's so wild that boys are not taught how to act towards women and how to interact with women. And
it's true.
And, when to stop.
Yeah.
And there's a history in Hollywood of, if you like a girl and she doesn't reciprocate, just keep trying.
Yeah.
Just keep trying. Like she's gonna, she'll, make a grand gesture. Like just keep at it. Persistence. And it's like, sometimes they just don't want to date you, man. Sometimes they just don't want to dance with you.
Yeah.
So all that, like, I mean, at least to me, all that rushes into my head, when you watch these scenes, you're just like, holy shit, like that, things that we as men don't have to think about as much, in these situations. It's crazy, and it's a real thing, and it's still to this day is a real thing.
And the look of intensity on Susan's face when she said, what did you say? And just the look on Susan's face before she shoots him.
Yeah.
Right.
It just sends chills down my spine.
Yeah. What did you
It's
say?
so visceral, and that it's just by chance because of Thelma putting in her bag that, there's a gun in your hand. And, leading up to this moment, Thelma was so alone, and then, it's just here it comes, and then it just takes one more extra little thing for Louise to flip. And
and this is also something that, at this moment in the movie, she stops a sexual assault right before he has a moment to like actually, make this happen. She stops it in its tracks. He kind of taunts her, and that's when she says, "What did you say?" Mm-hmm. And she shoots him. She shoots him dead. And this is something that there was. I don't know if there was pressure to change it. To maybe she doesn't kill him.
I think there were studio notes of why can't she just shoot him in the arm or shoot him in the leg.
Shoot him in the leg.
Yeah.
But it's and that's something that Callie Curry, the writer, was very adamant on. That no, this is what's going to happen to these characters.
Yeah, and bring Louise's secret past into it a little bit.
Yeah, and it sets off everything else in the rest of the movie, but I think it had to be that way. If you just shot him in the foot or whatever, I don't know. Then maybe, it had to go down this way, and it's crazy, and it's an intense scene, and they're both really, really good in it.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
But yeah, they just get in that mint green Thunderbird and hit the road.
Mm-hmm. And I like that it's not just hit the road and go. I like that they quickly stop at another diner.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's the planning. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
That feels, realistic too. than just suddenly being, outlaws immediately.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah, there's some thought put into it because Louise has to collect herself to figure out what she's going to do.
Yeah. And when Thelma says too, like, well, why don't we just tell the cops? Like, he beat me up. He was going to rape me. Like, and she had, throughout the rest of the movie, Thelma's like, her knees are all busted up. Like, she's physically hurt from what he did, And so you could easily say, like, well, yeah, just go to the cops and tell your story. But
Louise knows that it's a corrupt system.
Yeah.
Yeah, she says they're not going to believe.
They're not going to believe it.
This is 30 years ago, and still this way today.
Oh, yeah,
It's just,
yeah. Everybody saw you dancing with him.
Yeah.
100 people saw you dancing with him in the bar. So
who's going to believe?
Yeah, it's just not going to look good. So that's why she's just like, nope, we gotta get the hell out of here. So yeah, starts off. When does it get to be that zany, like the trailer?
We're waiting on that.
When do they start having all that fun robbing banks? They never rob a bank.
No. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what's interesting is that it doesn't really become the fun road movie until an hour and 40 minutes in, probably.
Yeah,
right, because we come up to JD soon.
Yes.
I mean, he has a first sighting.
Yeah.
Would you guys pick up JD if you saw him at the side of the road? I feel like you would probably, Pete, you would be the Louise, and I would
very wary of hitchhikers.
And I would be the Thelma of just like, what? He's cute.
I'm very wary of hitchhikers.
I like that he just sounds like he just has these like rocks in his mouth.
You would be the Thelma who actually literally says, "Did you see that butt?"
Did you see that? She says later on something about like watching him walk away.
I love to watch him walk away.
Yeah, I love it. But yeah, we get introduced to JD, which I'm fully on Louise's side. Like, no, we cannot.
Classic
pick
fuckboy.
him up. Yeah, fuck boy.
And Louise sees that bag over his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
She knows he's no good.
Yeah, no, he is a drifter. What is he running from?
And I'm like taking notes on JD's cowboy hat. That I have a cowboy hat, and I'm like, oh, I like that he has like this cool like
little
band,
rope.
like rope that goes around it.
Yeah.
I have to figure something out like that.
This is right around the time too that we call Michael Madsen.
Yeah.
Who is like super dreamy in this movie.
Yeah, I kind of think Michael Madsen's super hot in this movie.
Who's like 32 going on 40 in this movie.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
Michael Madsen
absolutely.
has this like road hard quality about him. This is like Elvis Presley if Elvis didn't quite make it out of playing like the local bars.
So when was Reservoir Dogs?
Well, like the year after, and so is Free Willy.
Free Willy.
Because to me, he's the hot dad in Free Willy.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, as a kid.
Yeah, as a kid, yeah. Oh, speaking of like these grizzled dudes being in these movies, Ridley Scott also mentions Harvey Keitel in Monkey Trouble.
Yeah.
With Thora Birch.
Yeah, he had just sort of a working relationship.
Yeah.
With
He like
Harvey
produced
Keitel.
or something.
Was he produced? I was like, what is he talking? He
Harvey
mentions
Keitel
Monkey Trouble. And I
was
was
in
like,
his first movie. He was in Duel.
okay.
Oh, the Duelists, right?
The Duelists.
Duelists, yeah. Duel is Steven Spielberg's first movie.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so
These like duel movies.
yeah, so
right.
Reservoir and Sister Act are the next year.
Yes. And right. And so to me, I always have this image in my head of like Michael Madsen of just being grizzled. You know, it just he's been around the block. You know, he's a grizzled guy. I have him up there kind of with Mickey Rourke, you know. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting, and just kind of seeing the kind of guy and the kind of roles that Michael Madsen does. Interesting that he didn't go down the like Mickey Rourke plastic surgery route.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or like I'm gonna be like a boxer in my 50s route, or like a professional wrestler or something. Like, you know, he acts. He's still acting great. You know, great job and all the Tarantino stuff. But in this movie, he's super good looking.
Yeah.
I never really thought about that. And we were watching it, and I was like, look at those eyelashes.
Yeah.
He's like super dreamy. His hair is like dyed black. And you could tell it's dyed black. Like it's very, very black. But I mean, I don't know. Something about everything put together, the sleeveless shirt, the big belt buckle.
His bowling shirts, love it.
Yeah.
He has a bit of a rage problem.
Yes.
Which adds kind of this history to both him and Louise.
Yeah.
That this is something that they've had to deal with all throughout their relationship. They probably have broken up, gotten back together like 4 times.
It feels that way.
But he's the kind of guy that will drive to Oklahoma City with $6,000 to hand deliver it.
He cares enough then, or suspects something's really friggin' fishy.
Yeah.
But then,
And he proposes, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's a probably a very tempestuous relationship, like you said. But at the end of the day, I feel like maybe it would be good for.
So one of Susan's big notes on the script was they got married. They had like pretty much an impromptu.
But you wanted them to get married?
Wedding
Because they don't
ceremony.
get married.
In the original script.
It's in the script they get married.
And Susan was just like, I don't know. This character's been through a lot. I don't think that this woman can handle it at this moment.
And they were going to have a competing sex scene.
Yep.
With Geena and Brad going at it.
That would be too much.
It's a weird read. It's an interesting read, the Susan side of it, of what she wanted out of the script. But it is kind of funny. There's this whole side to the J.D. Thelma scene where apparently it was kind of NC-17 and toned way down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like, they went really hard on that sex scene.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the end, all we get is like a piece of crack.
But it's probably all there in the dailies, though. They probably just edited artfully around everything.
Well, even Susan, the anniversary, said, what was taking so long watching those dailies that day?
It's all in there. They were just all hanging out.
Watching Brad and Geena, who wanted to be her own buddy.
Her own body double.
Yep.
Love it.
I mean, Gina's done like hand modeling and body part modeling. She can handle it.
She's not really wearing much in Earth Girls or Easy.
No, not at all. She's in a bikini for half the movie. Yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting scene. This, when JD kind of,
because they tell him to hit the road.
Yeah,
and then he comes knocking on her door when it's raining.
Yeah, and just talks his way into the room.
And then what's kind of interesting, I find, with this character is confesses what he does and that he's currently on parole, running away. It's like I love that character. Note for Callie's script is that he just lets her know up front who he is.
Yeah. And she still leaves him alone with the money.
Mm-hmm. and he's the outlaw, but she's the one who stole his heart.
Oh my goodness. But Scott brought this up. Why is Louise giving Thelma the money to begin with?
Yeah, you would think that
they
money
have 2 rooms.
You would think that money wouldn't leave Louise's pocket.
And after she had 61 and the 20 flies out of the car.
Yeah, exactly.
And she says 41.
She lost like a third of their money.
You would think, but let's give Louise the benefit of the doubt. She's just killed somebody and her mind is scattered elsewhere.
Yeah, and she just kind of got blindsided with Michael Madsen showing up. She didn't really think he was going to come all the way out.
And she just assumed that we've gotten rid of the hot drifter. And he's not.
Yeah, he left at that point.
He's not like our problem anymore.
Yeah, he left. He walked back to the room, unbeknownst to Louise. So,
right.
Okay.
Instead, it's like, what happened?
That breakdown of Susan, it's so good.
When she finds out that he left with the money,
because you just see this character that you've seen her really strong, and feel like I can really hold it together, and she just is crippled in this moment.
Yeah.
And the beginning of that great changing
of their
dynamic. Really see their dynamics kind of change, and kind of Thelma really has to rise to the occasion.
And she does.
Yeah, she takes charge.
By
and she uses everything JD taught her about robbing stores and knocking over liquor stores.
I love how
knocks over a liquor store.
I love how that scene is edited.
It's edited really
of
very
that you get
brilliant.
You get the footage of her on the camera.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is a robbery. Now, if nobody loses their head, nobody will lose their head. Simon said, y'all lie down on the floor, please, right away. You two, ma'am, would you get down? Not you, sir. Let's see who'll win a prize for keeping their cool. Sir, would you do the honors? Take all the cash out of that girl, put it in a paper bag.
Yes, ma'am.
We're going to have an amazing story to tell all your friends. Not you'll have a tag on your toe. You decide. All right, hurry up. Let's go. Ma'am, would you be quiet? Sir, sit down, please. Thank you. Just stay there. Just get real comfortable. Hey, bottles of wild turkey, too, will you?
Yes, ma'am.
Now you get down, too?
Yes, ma'am.
Ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you all for your cooperation. Now stay down on the floor till I'm gone. Have a good day.
Yeah.
I also love. We have to give a shout out to that scene of Susan in the car when she's having that moment sitting in the car and she's looking at the women through the window. And that's one of those moments with Ridley Scott that you're like, oh yeah, that is a movie director. That he can take this little moment in the script that would just be like, Thelma sits in the car and he makes this beautiful like connection between Thelma in the car. She's looking at the mirror. She throws the lipstick and she looks at the women looking at her.
I love
it's
that
such
aspect.
a powerful moment.
The locals he got for this are just great.
Yeah.
And they're in Bakersfield.
Yeah, so crazy. So crazy.
I mean, is it one of those things that Ridley Scott came from commercial directing? That he really knew that this is a moment that I have to really like showcase?
Set the mood, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When we do see the footage, it is kind of not intercut, but it's through Harvey Keitel, Stephen Tobolowsky,
Yes.
Ned Ryerson,
I was on a flight to Seattle once with him.
with Stephen Tobolowsky,
And it's so funny that I was just like, where do I know him from?
everything.
I did everything, and I didn't think of immediately Groundhog's Day. I didn't think of Thelma Louise. I immediately went to Memento.
I thought you were going to say single white female.
I don't remember him in Memento. That's crazy.
He's an LA regular. I've seen him here in Studio City.
So funny that I went to Memento was the first thing that I thought of.
That is funny.
But yeah, Tobolowsky in this movie, he ain't got no time for anything.
No, not at all. Because Harvey Keitel is very much like we said. He's sympathetic. He's very much on Louise's side. He's like from the beginning, you know. And I like the scenes when they're at Daryl and Louise's house, when they tap the phone and you know all of that. Daryl has a pinball machine in his living room
Because of course he does.
and of course Louise is like, yeah, sure, whatever. It's his. He bought it. Like he's the one with the job, so it's it's his pinball machine.
And of course he's so stupid. He's like stands in pizza when Harvey comes.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. You know, when she first calls Daryl, it's like the middle of the night, like after midnight. He doesn't answer, and his dinner and beer. His dinner's still in the microwave, and the beer is still sitting there with the note and little teddy bear sitting on top of it. So he still hasn't even come home. So for all he knows, she's just home by herself waiting for him, and she went to bed. Then we cut to him. It's the next day, and he's watching football. And Thelma's been gone this entire time. And when she calls, he's just like, "Where are you?"
And puts the phone down to listen to some football.
And to watch more football. Like, he could give two shits about his wife. He's been gone all night long doing God knows what. Probably, fucking somebody else. And, for all he knows, where the hell is she?
I love the third time that she calls him. That's like the time of you have to find out what he knows. And immediately if he knows, hang up the phone.
Yeah.
And like first sentence that he says, "Hey, Thelma."
He knows.
How's it going? He knows. I do really like the back and forths between Thelma Louise and Harvey Keitel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Of that
really
when they kind of figure out that, okay, so the police are onto us.
Yeah.
And then they sort of find out who Harvey's character is through these phone calls.
And I think that's another reason why, you kind of like him, because he is giving options
yes.
Yeah.
for their possible, getting out of it.
Clearly, he knew that it was a pretty shitty situation that they had to defend themselves with.
Yeah, everything you heard from the waitress, I think he was able to put two and two together. And when he did tell Louise, maybe he was leaving a little bit out or just trying to entice her to come home. When he said, like, "You're just wanted for questioning right now."
And for
just
questioning, for all of the controversy that this movie got from male critics at the time, like male moviegoers, that kind of portraying men in a negative view, I think the Harvey Keitel character is sort of who Ridley Scott and Callie can point to of that. No, that is clearly not the case.
Right. So going back to what you were saying about like how, using the real people, I love that moment around this time when they stop and Louise takes off her jewelry. We end up she says she stole his hat. The old miner guy who's on, she gives him her jewelry, and it's like, for me, it's giving the jewelry for the hat, but it's also shedding her life.
Yeah.
It's kind of the moment where not know, but you may suspect she's not coming back to that life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's interesting when Thelma does come by and she's like, "Where'd you get that hat?" She's like, "I stole it."
I like that beat. Once again, him finding just local moments.
Yeah, for sure. Was that something that Susan kind of? I think that might have been a moment that she brought to Ridley.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because they
probably
because apparently this guy was a real old miner who lived in this shack.
Wow,
and had just stopped mining 5 years before.
That's crazy. I like the little, not little. It turns out to be a pretty big scene, but I like the truck driver.
I was going to say you laugh pretty hard at all of the truck driver scenes of the movie.
You're bitches. You're bitches for hair. Every time they pass him, and he's just like doing the jerk off motions with his hands, and just like woo woo.
Also,
I had
to take note of the bro sunglasses are very 2021.
He had the the Macho Man Randy Savage sunglasses. He wasn't wearing them, but they were
just got a pair at the fair.
His dashboard
this past summer.
They're back.
The Macho Man Randy Savage sunglasses are back. Yes, indeed. You heard it here first, everybody.
And this is really the moment the movie takes, and this is like their buddy road movie, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. This is kind of the funnest portion of the movie.
Yeah.
This is also the portion of the movie that when you watch all of the trailers and TV spots that they lean into,
this is the most
really heavy.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Would they actually be driving through Monument Valley? I don't know. Is it just because it looks pretty? Maybe.
Well, I mean, they do have to go around Texas.
Yeah, seriously.
So,
seriously, this whole route to get to Mexico, but not going through Texas, I love.
I love that scene.
Yeah.
And kind of, I love that intercut back to the JD under investigation with Daryl.
Yes.
Yeah. I love this line Brad has. It's, well, shit twice and fall back in it.
Yeah. Very interesting that we do see them kind of bringing in JD. They know he's got this amount of money. They know that, Michael Madsen had taken out that amount of money.
There was a reason why they robbed the convenience store.
Yeah, so Harvey Keitel
and JD
again
was that reason.
Yeah, Harvey Keitel again is putting it together. He's like, they wouldn't have knocked over that liquor store if it wasn't for you. Yeah, I kind of like that scene when they're questioning him.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Can I talk to him alone?" And Stephen Tobolowsky looks at him like, "All right."
So Harvey can slap him back
for it now. But I like it when he grabs his hat off his head and starts hitting him with his own hat. I'm like, oh my god, I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going back to jail. He his parole officer is mad at him.
Oh yeah. But yeah, when they're driving through Monument Valley and they get pulled over.
Yeah, they meet the cop. Who is it?
This scene's great. It's Jason Beggy. Jason Beggy is a very interesting actor.
Ex-Scientologist. He had a very public fallout with Scientology. Watch Going Clear. They go into it.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
That's where I know him from.
He had the whole
he's in a lot of stuff.
Stalking him,
he's
at
in
his
the
home.
He's in the new
stuff.
season of Gossip Girl.
Yeah, he does.
He's one of the gay dads in Gossip Girl.
What?
This season? Yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And I kind of love the little back Ridley says of him getting the role because he was the only guy in the audition who chose to cry.
Yeah.
Chose to be afraid and cry.
Yeah. Interesting.
Said that he read it for him straight the first time, and then he asked, "Can I do something a little different?"
I dig
on
it.
the second go around. I like it.
With more sunglasses, speaking of sunglasses, more sunglass exchange happens here with the.
And I love of when they're telling him to get in the back of the trunk, which also, damn, ladies, like you're putting that cop in the back of a trunk, like he's gonna die of heat stroke, sitting in the desert.
Yeah, the back seats of cop cars you can't get out from the inside. They could have just put him in the back seat.
I was thinking to myself, I'm like, does he survive because he is right there on the side of the road and the investigation gets to him in time? You know, like the whole chase, you know, or is he going to die?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that Rastafarian blew that weed smoke into
But I love
the trunk.
but I love where he's about to get in the trunk and they keep asking for all of these his gun, his belt.
Does she even take beer?
His beer.
Yeah, why does he have a 6-pack of beer in his
six
trunk?
his 6-pack of like Bud Light,
It's probably
of
hot
like
beer.
Miller Lite,
It was
yep.
Miller Lite, yeah.
And then gets his aviators. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Which leads us to the great. I love it. The way he lights the car on their faces, driving. You know,
Yeah.
after they've put the cop in the thing, and really my favorite Geena moment, which tells you what's going to happen, which is, something's crossed over in me. I can't go back.
I love that scene.
I can't go back. Mm-hmm. And you just know no one's going back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This journey has made her a changed woman.
Yeah. And Louise says they don't want to end up on the Geraldo show.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness.
That's the other interesting thing about this movie, too, is that it's released in 91, probably shot around 1990. It doesn't really look super dated at all. Like, at all. Mm-hmm. Like, it could be, aside from the fact that they're on, like, payphones and
You could
stuff,
just be making a period movie from the early 90s.
It doesn't even have to be because she's driving a classic car, like...
You're right, there's not a ton of references.
There's not a ton of,
I mean, that's what you get...
Other than Geraldo.
That's what you get with a really well-directed movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Too.
It feels like you're watching it and you're not like, oh, this is a 90s movie or late 80s or whatever. It just feels like a movie that you're watching right now.
The stories that last.
And also, like, Ridley Scott knew at that time that we have to keep this movie fast. Like, this isn't like a movie from the early 80s or 70s where you can fully feel those 2 hours.
Yeah.
But this movie flies by.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's over 2 hours long and it doesn't feel like it ever.
I mean, clearly there was a really great collaboration between Ridley and the women, because even around this time, they're having that conversation that's kind of fantasizing about the life in Mexico. I'm working at Club Med. I'm doing this. But apparently a lot of that stuff was at the very end before they go over the cliff. And I think Susan and Geena were kind of like, let's put it here. And I think the payoff is just so much better for the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to talk about the last portion of the movie, the big high-speed chase through the desert. I love those scenes. I love the stunt driving. It's like, I mean, when I was watching it in this viewing, those last car chase scenes are so impressive.
Yeah.
I think they're so cool to watch.
And everything coming out of leading back to your guy. Blowing up the tanker.
Oh, my God.
And, I friggin' love that. Geena, do you call women a beaver? I hate being called a beaver.
Called a beaver. Oh, man.
And this is kind of the portion of the movie that probably made Susan want to sign on to it, because she said that she approached this movie of wanting to be in like a guy's movie. Like she wanted to, instead of like a cowboy movie where they like ride horses, they get to drive trucks and wear like aviators and just sort of do guy stuff in a movie, which women at that time didn't really do.
Yeah.
Like you were just regulated to the girlfriend role.
Yeah, and she had done a lot of cool films, but so often, a love interest. This is something so different. And, you were talking about, the ending always comes back a million different ways, but one of the reasons I feel like Susan, from what we've read and what we know, came into this movie with such strong opinions about the end is she'd apparently... she had just done White Palace with James Spader,
right?
And they had changed the ending from the book to be happier and more uplifting.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if, she had come off that experience, she was going to stick to her guns.
And she said that she sat down with Ridley at the time of, okay, I'll do this movie, but we're not going to get to the end of this movie and you're going to cave with a test audience that doesn't like them driving off the cliff.
Right.
Because that's not the movie that I'm signing up to do.
I respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a crazy ending. It is a crazy ending. And yeah, the stuff about the end game was, all right, I shot this guy. I killed this guy. You don't have to come with me because you didn't do anything, but I'm going to go to Mexico. And then now it's now they're not knocking over liquor stores, all this stuff. So it's okay, we're going to Mexico. This is going to be our life. But the thing is, when you're just okay, I guess we're just going to go live in Mexico now. There are going to be those moments where you're well, what'll we do? What will our life be when we go down there? You know? So yeah, it is smart that they kind of put that in somewhere so they could just be
that kind of fantasy dream. Just
just start making kind of plans.
This is the goal.
Yeah. Or even if they both kind of knew that it wouldn't really pan out somewhere in their head, maybe they were just we're never going to get to Mexico. But if we did, this is what we would do. And that's why they were kind of well, Club Med, sure. That sounds good.
There's just such a finality to their behaviors. Even with, I love the beautiful moment with Geena looking once again. First, it was smoking Louise's cigarette. Look at me, I'm Louise in the beginning.
Yeah.
But now at the end, it's everything's changed. Look how beautiful it is. There's just something final about. That.
Yeah, definitely. So that last chase is pretty crazy and big,
and when they are about to drive off the cliff, there's something so powerful in that moment that me personally, when I watch it, I don't think it's sad. I think the correct word is moving.
Yes.
That this is their only choice, and clearly they have to floor it and drive off the cliff.
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, then listen. Let's not get caught.
What are you talking about?
Let's keep going.
What do you mean?
Go.
You sure?
Yeah. Get it.
And I like how even till the end with Keitel's character, he says something how many times do these women have to be fucked over?
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And so they really keep that moment for you. I got a tear out of emotional, but less than sad, as Scott was saying.
Yeah.
But it's great. The choice before we go over that Susan didn't tell anybody except Geena that she was going to kiss her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Which was very controversial at the time. Don't they go into it in the celluloid closet?
They do.
That's really the moment with the MPAA of just all right, you've done some crazy shit in this movie, but the friend kiss is stepping too far.
Oh my god.
But
it's you're in the car, you're about to put the pedal to the metal and drive off the cliff. Who cares? It's of course, yeah, you're gonna do something this is the person that you're gonna kill yourself. I don't know. It's crazy. It's what are they thinking? That it's a romantic moment? It's so
no, there's nothing glorified here.
And there's something so powerful about, we haven't mentioned the Hans Zimmer score, but those guitar...
that kick in.
Those guitar notes of the score that kick in.
Right when she says, let's keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It made me the woman I am today.
The three gay men talk to Thelma Louise.
Yeah, no, yeah, it is definitely a very powerful moment, very emotional. And yeah, Harvey's great in it, and Tobolowsky's just nope, Like we gotta aim all these guns at these broads. Like we never know what they're gonna do. Like they're armed, And when you think about it, like from the cops, because I was like, what are they gonna just shoot all these ladies? But it's like, no, they have guns. So it's like, yeah, they do have to have their guns out. But it's like, all right.
And Ridley knows what to do. I mean, from the pedal to the hands to the great picture blowing out of the car.
Yeah. The Polaroid.
Yeah.
Blowing in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we're off the cliff.
It would have been so much fun to be filming that day when they boomeranged that car
with dummies
over the canyon, because this isn't quite the Grand Canyon. This is like the beginning of the Grand Canyon. I think it's shot in Nevada. Like this is like sort of
Utah?
at the beginning of where the Grand Canyon really starts to branch out, because they were given a big NO from the national parks of that we are not going to okay this. Like you're not going to film these women driving off the side of the cliff.
You have to find some canyon that's like kind of still a national park, but not under our jurisdiction.
And Ridley Scott said that it worked out because like you realistically could not shoot at the Grand Canyon because it is that massive.
Yeah.
That it wouldn't read on camera.
Yeah, it would just be like there would be nothing behind it because it's too big.
And I love, hearing that one of the first things they shot is Thelma coming down the driveway with all the stuff, and the last thing they had 45 minutes to shoot the last. It really was their goodbye, and I just love that.
Oh, okay, yeah, it was one of the last shots, and it was like they're losing daylight as they're
they had done all the helicopter stuff,
wow.
all the everything, but it was going to be one more day was going to cost however much money.
And when you're watching it happen on screen, you're like, there's bodies in that car.
Yeah,
you can see like an arm, and there's some pretty realistic.
We'll post a picture of the beautiful Susan Sarandon looking dummy that they have in the car.
Yeah,
we were watching some of the bonus features, and Pete was like, "Wait a minute, rewind that," and it was a shot of Susan's dummy.
Yeah,
I'm impressed with those dummies.
And also the car that they shot off the cliff didn't have anything in it.
Yeah.
Right, like didn't have
it
an
was,
engine.
It was pretty much a shell.
Yeah.
It's like slingshot with like a truck or something.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
That's wild. But yeah, I mean, that is like an iconic moment in this movie and was definitely talked about a lot. Mm-hmm. The fade to white, just all of it was just like, I don't know. I feel like nothing had been done like that.
Yeah, not anything like this. I mean, there's always like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, but not anything with two women, though.
Right. Going out in this blaze.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't even read like Arthur Penn's Bonnie and Clyde.
No.
Which is a real downer of an ending.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it definitely... There's feels when you're watching it. It's emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it does cut to a little, kind of a montage.
Yeah.
Of, of their scenes of them together.
But like I said, it doesn't leave me depressed or sad, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Quite the opposite. I'm very inspired and moved.
Right.
So do we want to talk a little bit about the 91 Oscars? So Josh and I are huge Oscar nerds. And this is an interesting one because it just missed Best Picture. But then again, 1991 was a very strong year in film.
And by missed Best Picture, you mean it didn't win it?
It didn't get nominated.
It didn't even get nominated.
So it would have been Silence of the Lambs that ended up winning. Silence of the Lambs, Beauty and the Beast, kind of a cool nomination. Bugsy, JFK, and The Prince of Tides.
Ooh.
Bugsy.
What a very adult year, but also our animation.
Yeah.
Well, I also feel like there was probably regrets of not putting The Little Mermaid in that category in 1989.
And so it kind of builds to us and needing an animated stuff.
It's interesting because, I mean, Silence of the Lambs, obviously. JFK is like, it's JFK.
The Oliver Stone.
Yeah, it's Oliver Stone. Bugsy, I feel like Bugsy doesn't have this like lasting.
I mean, Warren Beatty was very respected at the time.
Big deal. It was a big deal, big movie. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know.
Also got a Harvey Keitel nomination.
Oh,
so
right.
not nominated
That's
for
right.
Thelma and Louise, but he got one for Bugsy.
That's right.
Oh,
This
okay.
was like a couple of years of just Harvey working it.
Interesting.
And then this is the interesting trade-off of Prince of Tides. No Barbara,
Right.
but history made
Best
with the
picture.
first black director with John Singleton, Boys in the Hood. So
Yep.
it's this interesting year, and with Silence, dominating. But
And also just Silence of the Lambs Oscar narrative that was never on the radar with Orion. Of that,
Right.
they never thought this would be an Oscar vehicle, and then it just all took off.
right, and then this is also the weird year of we get some comedy with City Slickers.
Jack Palance won for City
my
Slickers, yeah.
goodness.
Is that when he's doing
Rule,
the push-ups?
the
on
push-ups,
stage?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mercedes Rule
One-
for the
one
Fisher
off
King.
Yeah.
And Geena Davis and Susan Sarandon were in Best Actors together, which is interesting because I can't think of anything like this that
Since, right?
two major actresses were in the same category. Probably
since.
not since All About Eve.
I was gonna say.
Terms of Endearment.
Terms of Endearment. Yeah.
And Shirley MacLaine won.
yeah.
Because the year that All About Eve was nominated, neither one of them
Right,
won.
right.
Right?
It wasn't.
That was the year of Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
So what's her name won? But the thing is when it happened with All About Eve, when it happened with Thelma and Louise, neither of them won. But
Yeah, we
Terms of
haven't.
Endearment year, Shirley MacLaine got it.
Yeah, we haven't had anything like
But
this
it hasn't happened
since.
Has it happened in supporting?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
We've had
but not
like
for lead.
triples, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it's one of those things, too, that I don't know who I would vote for, Susan or Geena.
Right. I mean, it's like in some
Jodie.
ways, exactly. In some ways, that's
Yeah.
just why you're glad Jodie is there. And
Split the difference.
we have Bette Midler back for the boys, and little young Laura Dern, Rambling Rose. So there must be some weird little circle you can draw to Jeff Goldblum, right? Like
yeah.
through the Geena and the Laura.
And the Laura Dern. Oh wow! How old was Laura Dern in 1991?
She would have been young. She would
My
probably have been,
goodness.
what, like 21, 20?
Laura Dern was born in
Yeah.
'67.
Okay, 77, 87. She was 23.
Yeah, nominated with
24?
her with her mom,
Yeah, because she got a supporting
for Rambling
nomination. Yep.
Diane Ladd, in the
Wow.
such a interesting year.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and it's one of those things that I guess that Jodie always had Thelma and Louise on her radar that I'm going to be in this movie, and then ended up winning Best Actress over both of them.
And then the Michelle vehicle would be like
That's the next year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with Love Field.
Love Field isn't talked about a lot.
Yeah.
It deals with racism.
I feel like Love Field probably hasn't aged too well because it sort of has this white savior narrative with it.
Okay. All right.
But she was like, she was in Fabulous Baker Boys mode, Love Field, and then
Yeah.
of course, it's all about the lead up to Catwoman. So
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting year at the Oscars.
Callie ended up winning supporting, and I would imagine
what?
that
Say that again?
Screenplay.
Or Callie ended up winning for original screenplay.
Original screenplay.
which I feel like probably wasn't expected.
Well, she got the Globe,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
so she was probably the favorite to win that category.
Callie Corey, now married, wasn't then, now married to another Oscar winner, T-Bone Burnett.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Who did the one for music for Crazy Heart.
Sure. And what is her career post this movie? That she directed The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood, which was kind of a bust.
I think Mad Money was maybe more the bust, but Yaya made money, I think.
I think it did okay. But that also was really dismissed as this is a girl movie.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, she did eventually get to directing, but it was really more now recently the creation of Nashville.
I was going to say, and she produced Nashville, and I'm assuming that she probably directed some episodes of that.
Yeah, I read, it was funny, T-Bone was actually music on the first season, and I read he actually left because he didn't like the way that Callie was being treated by some of the executives.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But she stayed on as I don't know if it was showrunner or just creator. I don't know.
Interesting.
And that also leads us to the discussion that I'm sure that there was a lot of talking points at the time that Thelma and Louise was really going to change women in film, but did it really?
Well,
in the
Geena
grand scheme
Davis
of
would tell
things.
you no.
Yeah.
Really, she makes you wonder. I don't know when Geena Davis started her foundation that started to dig in some of these things about representation on film, but she was cited even as recently, I think, as this last anniversary, saying that percentage-wise, not a lot has changed with the amount of female roles.
Right.
So pretty.
And it's one of those things, too, that studios at the time probably saw the success of a movie like this, and they were probably like, oh, that's cool, but they weren't willing to try to copy it or like try to do stuff that was similar to it.
Yeah. You don't get a
like
lot of
they just kind of wanted to write it off.
Yeah. And even Geena, it's funny you mentioned Deborah Winger. She was a last minute replacement for Deborah Winger, who didn't want to work with Madonna in A League of Their Own.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's just come
Deborah
out. Actually,
Winger was supposed to be the Geena Davis role?
This week, she was...
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, I guess it's been known, but Deborah didn't want to work with Madonna. And so, Gina's career, sadly, doesn't take off exactly in the way you would think throughout the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some of that was the pirate movie, right? And
Cutthroat Island, the movie that she did with her husband, Rennie Harlan.
And there was that Thriller. Was it Long Kiss?
The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see how the Long Kiss Goodnight revisits.
Yeah. But after that, it's kind of sad because we love Geena, and
she was in the Stuart Little movies.
Yeah, you just would have thought. I think it would have been more.
I mean, not everyone can be Meryl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Because Meryl, it's like
Why does there have to just be one?
It's like what Susan. It's like what Sharon Stone just said recently, that Hollywood made Meryl the only good one, and she was the only one that studios wanted to work with.
I guess she didn't burn any bridges.
Well, Sharon Stone can say that because nobody wants to work with her.
But do you know what I'm saying though? Is that like studios they're willing to cast Meryl Streep in all of these movies, but her contemporaries like Susan Sarandon, Sissy Spacek, Sharon Stone, that you have all of these other great actresses of that age that don't really get the roles that she's getting.
That's kind of why I loved that Meryl apparently personally asked Soderbergh to put Diane Wiest in that recent film, Let Them All Talk, because I like that. Because, I mean, just reaching out to someone who is very much her peer and being like, put Diane in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the different versions in our head of the Thelma and Louise pairings.
But I'm really happy that we got this particular one.
Yes.
Though.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's everybody else is great and would have been amazing, but it's like I just can't picture anybody else at this point.
No, it's got to be them.
Yeah, it has to be these two. I mean, do we have any final thoughts on
this movie? Is about its strong leading ladies, and I'm just a sucker for just actresses in general, and this is just one of the all-time great movies that really showcases these two women.
Yeah, I mean, I think any little gay boy likes to see, and many non-gay boys like to see two ladies just with such undeniable chemistry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, even if it's going through something extremely difficult, there is those light moments in this. Just the way they relate to each other is just, it's interesting.
I love seeing these two personalities on screen.
Yeah. Love this one.
Yeah, definitely. This is a classic, definitely worth a revisit if you haven't watched it.
It holds up
lately, but and it's not a big downer.
Yeah,
there's definitely more to it than all of that. But
it's on every streaming service currently.
Yeah, right. Is it?
It's like on, I want to say Hulu and Paramount and Criterion.
Nice.
And,
okay, that's cool. That's cool. Well, then you heard it there, kids. You can go out and find it to watch it and stream it. Josh, this has been so much fun.
It was so good to catch up with you in person.
Yeah, great to see you guys again.
We always love having you on the show. We've done Sister Act, Sliding Doors, and the 2 Oscar episodes.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling you're going to be back for a movie later in the year. We won't exactly reveal what it is, but it's a good one.
What? Well, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Until next time, I always say we'd love to have you back, but I guess we're having you back pretty soon. So, until next time, thank you so much for coming on, buddy. This was really great.
Thank you, guys.
You're very welcome, and we shall see you soon. Thank you so much for listening, everybody.
I love this movie.
Yeah, obviously, we both love this movie. Can't stop gushing about it. It's really great, though. We definitely recommend. Yeah, it is, like Josh said, it is on Paramount Plus with subscription. It is on Hulu with subscription. So go check out Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
If you haven't already. Very, very good. So I think that means... it's that time. It's time for some Patreon shout-outs. Well, we would love to say hello to our good friends and patrons. Susan, Barry, JJ, Brandon, Leighton, Shelby, Merle, Jacob, Michael, Charlie, Heather, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Jimmy, Genevieve, Don, Josh, Emily, Melly, Aaron, Melinda, Jim, Jessica, John, Nick, and Shannon, Christine, and Rufino.
Thank you for being a friend.
Thank you guys for being our patrons.
Thank you so much. I just got a new batch of postcards. They will be in the mail before this episode comes out.
Yes, indeed. And so head on over to patreon.com/movies that made us gay. You can check out all of our tiers.
We do a commentary every month with a newsletter.
Yes, indeed. We have a $1, $5, and $10 tier levels. You can do a 1 month subscription where you just donate the money there, and for 30 days you can have access to everything at that tier level and just cancel it after that. Or you can set it up monthly and subscribe and get all that fun stuff as it comes out. So it's a lot of fun over there on Patreon. So check it out, and thank you for doing that.
We also have a 5-star iTunes review.
Yay.
I love those. This is from Dodomania from Apple Podcast in Germany, all the way in Germany. That's so cool. Entitled, I'm Addicted, 5 stars. I discovered this podcast a few days ago and have been listening to 2 to 3 episodes a day. It's so much fun. It makes me want to rewatch all of the movies they talk about. Great guest host, too. Highly recommend.
Thank you so much. That is from Instagram user Last of the Dodos. Thank you,
and
dude.
he also commented on our post. Oh, he's super cute, too. Dominique.
How about that, Dominic? Thanks so much, dude. So, yeah, we would love it if you would head on over to Apple Podcasts and give us 5 stars and write us a good review. Maybe we'll read it on an episode. I mean, we'll definitely read it on an episode, just like we've been doing. And let's see. We would also love it if you head over to any and all of those social media platforms. We are on Instagram and Facebook at Movies That Made Us Gay. And we're also on Twitter
at MTMUGPod.
Yes, indeed. So head on over there and subscribe and like all of our posts. You can also find me. My name is Pete. I am on Instagram and Twitter at Peter Lasagna.
And I'm Oscar Scott on Twitter, Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and just Scott Youngbauer on Letterboxd. See what I'm watching.
Yes, indeed. Until next time, everybody, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.